Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health, and really without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
Welcome to episode 38 of Nerdery and Murdery. Don't mention the war.
Seriously, get the fuck out of my house.
Is this a piece of your brain?
All right, welcome to episode 38 of Nerdery and Murdery.
38.
Want to welcome back Trey again for another guest spot here.
Hey there, handsome.
Hello. You just look like a microphone.
I am Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your murdery, although I don't think you're the nerdery side again.
No. I am doing the nerdery. Trey is here for color.
I'm just here to quote lines from the show.
Okay, that works for me.
I'm on Shuffle Play.
This episode comes out on February 1st, and it's funny as I look through this. Last February, we were really still just talking and planning all this, and I mean, here we are. When this episode releases, we're closing in on a year.
Yes,
3 months.
Yes,
it's just I don't know. I just kind of had to take a moment because really, when this comes out, it's just like, oh my God, from discussion stage to planning stage to everything we've done since.
Yes.
And so I had to take a moment because I wanted to thank you for this. I look forward to recording day more than anything, just about anything I do.
Look at him. He's being all sweet.
Oh, kiss my ass.
What's the traditional 1 year podcast gift? Is it?
I think it's paper.
Is it the paper? It's not a broken microphone cord.
It's a broken microphone.
We can keep paper somewhere, I guess.
You got a charger, dude.
But we're not there yet. But just had to take a moment
close.
because
Well, yeah, I mean,
a lot of fun.
we started with the idea, the three of us sitting around an idea, and then and we've been able to bring guests in,
Right.
This thing is taking off like a shot. I'm just saying.
Let's hope so. We seem to have some pretty faithful listeners every week.
I'm enjoying it.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Glad to hear we have an actual fan in the house.
I do actually tune in.
and that's good to know.
I'm upping your Spotify numbers.
That works for me. That works for me. So there was that. The other thing I wanted to mention is I've been watching DC Titans. That's good.
Yes, it is.
That's really, really good.
Have you seen any of the DC Titans?
No.
Oh,
Again, there's that me not being a comic book guy
the
thing.
whole comic book fan. But I mean, Chelsea's watching it with me, and I mean, we're only in season 1. I think we just got to the end of season 1, and that's really an incredible show. I've really, really enjoyed that. So glad you're watching it too. We need to get into season 2 now. So
yep.
I didn't have anything else. I just wanted to mention that and give a reference out for that show so people can watch that.
Sweetness.
Yeah. So other than that, unless you have anything new, I say you take over back to the nerdery side.
A little nerdery action.
I do have an announcement.
Sure.
There is now a blue light special on aisle 5, lawnmowers and charcoal equipment.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. You're an idiot.
I got one! Yes! Yes!
You did that just so you could get "You're an idiot."
Maybe? Might be.
So today we are talking about Fawlty Towers.
Sweet.
It is a British television sitcom written by John Cleese and Connie Booth. It was broadcast on BBC Two in 1975 and 1979. 2 series of 6 episodes each were made. The show was ranked first on a list of the 100 greatest British television programs drawn up by the British Film Institute in 2000. And in 2019, it was named the greatest ever British TV sitcom by a panel of comedy experts compiled by the Radio Times. The series is set in Fawlty Towers, a fictional hotel in the seaside town of Torquay on the English Riviera. The plot centers on the tense, rude, and put-upon owner Basil Fawlty, played by John Cleese, his bossy wife Sybil, played by Prunella Scales, the sensible chambermaid Polly, played by Connie Booth, who often is the peacemaker and voice of reason, and the hapless and English-challenged Spanish waiter Manuel, played by Andrew Sachs.
He's from Barcelona.
He is from Barcelona. Please excuse him, he's from Barcelona. The show, their attempts to run the hotel amidst farcical situations and an array of demanding and eccentric guests and tradespeople. So, yeah, that's pretty much the opening for
Shall we just start quoting lines?
Yeah, we can start quoting lines now. Oh, wait, there was one more little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so the idea of the show came from Cleese after he stayed at the Glen Eagles Hotel in Torquay in Devon. This is an actual place with an actual crazy man running it.
He tells some great stories.
Yeah.
The Python group stayed there. They were shooting Holy Grail.
Yep.
And, this guy apparently was a piece of work.
Donald Sinclair was the hotel owner. Yeah. Stuffy and snobbish, Sinclair treated guests as though they were a hindrance to his running of the hotel.
He actually, John Cleese was telling the story. I think Michael Palin told it too, but Eric Idle had left his briefcase.
It wasn't a briefcase, it was his squash kit.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
It was a squash
Yeah,
kit?
so
and,
the briefcase
and so the
about-
guy threw it over the wall because he thought it was a bomb.
Because he thought it was a bomb. He just left it in the lobby. Oh, hey, there's a suitcase. I'm just going to throw this away.
But yeah, he would do things like arbitrarily close the restaurant because he thought it was time.
Mm-hmm.
He would get on people who forgot to get their key and came back late.
Yeah.
Because the hotels you get a pass key for determined you turn it late. But yeah, definitely based on a real guy.
Yeah, the waitress who worked for him stated it was as if he didn't want the guests to be there.
Yeah.
Sinclair was the inspiration for John Cleese's.
And Fawlty Towers is one of the British comedies that I've seen the least of.
Really?
Well, there's only 12 of them, dude.
That's why. Yeah. And that's why right there, because there was only 12 of them. I mean, because Sunday night on PBS was Benny Hill and Good Neighbors.
Oh, I love Good Neighbors.
I did too. Are You Being Served? What was the one with the older couple where
As Time Goes By?
As Time Goes by.
No, not As Time Goes By. The one with the wife who really wanted to look like they were something.
Oh, Keeping Up Appearances.
Keeping Up Appearances.
That's Hyacinth, isn't it?
Yes.
Character?
Yes.
Hyacinth Bouquet.
Yeah.
There were so many more of those episodes, and then Blackadder.
Oh God, I love Blackadder.
And all that. So Fawlty Towers is only 12. It didn't get in the regular rotation on PBS Sunday night because there weren't as many seasons.
Well, it was early though, because I remember watching it when it came out with my dad. Right. Because thank goodness for KERA here.
Oh, absolutely.
Responsible for bringing Monty Python first to the States.
Yeah,
and I do believe Fawlty Towers as well, because they were kind of right there together.
Yeah, I think you're correct.
The Wilson brothers, Owen and Luke. Yeah, their dad was the one that ran KRA for years.
Right, really?
They talk about him talking about taking Monty Python out on the town in Dallas.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
It's very surreal to hear like an interview with John Cleese saying, "Yes, KERA, the public radio station in Dallas, Texas."
Right.
And you're like, "Whoa."
Well, so, I mean, that one being the one I've watched the least because there weren't as many episodes. Yeah. The others had several seasons, and so you were watching those. And then you would get to a point where they would get to the end of one of those, and they might bring Fawlty Towers back for a little while.
Yeah, they'd run the 12, and then
exactly, and then it would be gone again, and then
for a couple of years. Yeah,
and that's why I say it's the one I've watched the least.
Well, and for a while there, they were really only doing it. They do it during pledge time because there's actually a really good PBS produced documentary called Fawlty Towers Reopened, which they basically do extended interviews with everybody, and it's really good. I take it you watched it.
Yes,
it's on YouTube.
It's really good.
But I what else you got?
Yeah, well,
I mean, because I'm all set. Like I got all the tangents lined up here.
You got right here.
Yeah,
you got all the tangents are already lined up, but they're tangents. They can't be lined up. They're supposed to tangent off. That's the point.
You have to release the potential energy of the tangent before. It's easy to keep them ordered if you don't release the potential energy. If you cross the streams, then it becomes
don't cross the streams.
Problem.
William and I could leave the room if y'all two need some alone time. I mean,
it's getting late in the day. I mean, it's I haven't been tickled in a while. No.
Oh, dear Lord.
There it is.
There we go.
I like it when I get a snort. I like it when I get a snort. No, I was just. What else were you going to go on with?
Oh, well, I was going to talk about the Gleneagles Hotel in Torquay.
Yeah.
John Cleese was fascinated with the behavior of this Donald Sinclair.
He was the only one. He was the only one of the pythons who stayed at the hotel. Yeah. All the other pythons moved to a different hotel
because he was so terrible.
And Cleese stayed because he just couldn't get over this guy.
Yeah, he's the rudest man I've ever come across in my life. Is what he said.
Yeah,
he was fascinating.
Yeah.
I absolutely love John Cleese.
Oh, I know.
Just
Fish Called Wanda is one of my favorite movies, and I know you name check Harvey Manfred Jensen all the time.
Manfred Jensen.
Kevin Kline deserved the Oscar he won for that role.
Yes.
Yeah.
He won an Oscar for that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the very few times an out-and-out comedy performance won a supporting actor.
Kevin Kline is a phenomenal actor. But John Cleese, I mean, just
so is Jamie Lee Curtis.
He's in. Yes.
Even the advertisements. Do you remember on videotapes? There for a long time, John Cleese was doing ads for Schweppes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You remember those ads? They used to put them on the front of video. Yeah, exactly. Schweppes, where all the whole room is, and he's. Yeah.
Well, John,
which is actually, those ads are very Stan Freebergian in their attitude.
And we had mentioned in an episode John Cleese in Silverado. I mean, I loved his role in Silverado.
What's all this then?
It's just phenomenal.
Today my jurisdiction ends here. Pick up my hat.
Just greatness.
And the funny thing about that movie is the outfit that they put him in. He looks really good, That is like a really smart Western sheriff outfit that they put in.
Yes.
It's almost as smart as the outfit Kevin Kline's got at the end of that in the Silverado.
Yeah, that he keeps getting his outfit back.
No, he keeps getting his outfit back. Yeah.
You get the band for his hat, his boots.
Actually, that movie. We could probably do an episode on that movie.
Silverado?
It's a favorite of mine.
Oh, it's a great.
Or we could just do Lawrence Kasdan because he wrote Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, he did.
So
Yes, he did.
There's that. Fawlty Towers.
Circling back as we do.
The actual exteriors of the building were not in Torquay.
No,
that building it was like a gentleman's club or a squash club or something crazy like that.
It was shot
Cambridgeshire or something.
Yeah, part of it was shot in Southwest England for the exterior filming, the Woodburn Grange Country Club.
That's it.
In Buckinghamshire.
Which is sadly burned down. There's some really sad video of it all burnt to a crisp.
Several of the episodes, The Kipper and the Corpse, the anniversary of Basil the Rat, the entrance gate at the bottom of the drive states the real name of the building and the location. So.
Right.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, if you're eagle,
totally make it out.
If you're fast, you can spot it. Yeah. But I love the interior sets because they're like those wonderful BBC $3 sets.
Yes.
Where, when they slam a door, the whole wall.
Oh my God! When John Cleese is banging,
and you can
Sax,
hear how hollow the stairs are.
Yeah, you could see Sax kicking
the
wall.
baseboard. Well, you could see the marks on the fake wallpaper. It's the builders. It's the one with the rally, and you can see the marks on the wallpaper where they've done multiple takes already, and they just can't. They don't have the money to cover it all up, so it just looks kind of like wrinkled paper, Manuel Sachs talks a lot about the physical comedy. He says Cleese only really ever heard him once. It's the one where there's the fire in the kitchen, and he at the very end he hits him with the pan.
Yeah,
they mistimed and he actually clocked him.
Oh no, that was a heavy pan.
Yeah, that was the only time he ever hit him, and it really was truly just like both of them were just that much off. But Andrew Sachs was quick in a couple of interviews to be like, really, it's great to do physical comedy with John Cleese because his timing is so good.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get hurt, so you can really react. Yeah. And that's why all the man... I love the one where he takes and he drags the spoon down his head and down his teeth and then knocks him on the forehead with it.
or where he tries to get him to clean the window. I just watched this the other day. Where he tries to get him to clean the window. He puts the claws in it and has him do this, and he picks him up and walks him over and puts him in front of the window. This Basil's wife. This Basil's hand. This smack on head. No, he's filigree Siberian hamster. It's a rat! Sorry.
And two dead pigeons in the water tank.
Dead pigeons in the water tank.
I told you all we're going to do is just quote random lines from this show.
So circling back.
I checked out 5 minutes ago.
Part of it was shot in Southwest England at the Grange Country Club. They did make it into a club called Basil's for a while, but it sadly burned down in March of 1991. The remnants of the building were demolished and a housing estate was built on the site. Very little trace of the original site exists today.
I think it's like the driveway and one of the gate posts or something.
Other location filming was done mostly around Harrow. Firstly, the damn good thrashing scene in the gourmet night, in which Basil loses his temper and attacks his broken down car with a tree branch, was filmed at the T-junction of Lapstone Gardens and Mitmore's Close.
Have you ever heard John Cleese talk about filming that scene where he beats the car? They went through like 4 different versions of branches to find the one that was the funniest.
Which was the funniest branch to... Well, yeah, because it can't be too breaky.
It can't be too hard and it can't really hurt the car.
Yeah.
It can't be just a little wispy thing. So they had to find something that had enough heft that looked like he'd really kind of ripped it off something. But that was small enough that it wasn't going to really...
hurt the car. Yeah. Now, when Cleese was writing this, originally he got... paid to do some spec scripts for BBC, him and Connie Booth. He was paid £6,000 for 43 weeks to supplement his income by appearing in television advertisements. He states, I have to thank the advertising industry for making this possible. Connie and I used to spend 6 weeks writing each episode, and they didn't make a lot of money out of it because they hadn't been for the commercials. they wouldn't have been able to afford to do
Yeah.
it. So they took 6 weeks to write every episode.
Yeah, they talk a lot about, both of them in interviews, they talk an awful lot about, how carefully, because it's hard to do farce on stage, live, where the entire audience can see the entire set the whole time.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to do farce that way. But when you start throwing in all these complications of multiple cameras, a set,
different
multiple
rooms,
takes, different rooms, then all of a sudden that this show is 12 perfectly formed farce episodes.
Did they didn't have a live audience, did they?
Yeah.
Did they really?
Studio audience, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Shot in BBC studios, yeah.
Yeah. Well, except for the exterior stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
Which was filmed in Southwest London, which is weird because it's supposed to take place in Torquay. They never got anywhere near Devon filming it.
You can see the sea. It's over there between the land and the sky. Casey, what? Do you have a hearing aid? Would you like me to get it mended?
No, I turned it off.
Where's the batteries down?
Where's down the batteries? And she bends over, and he goes down and picks something up and puts it in her face and goes, "Is this a piece of your brain?" But my favorite bit in that whole thing is, "I'll give you £1,000 if you just listen." What?
Nothing.
You heard that, didn't you?
Oh my God.
Yes. The plot occasionally and intricate is always farcical, involving coincidences, misunderstandings, cross-purpose meetings, both missed and accidental. The innuendo of the bedroom farce is something present, often to the disgust of the socially conservative Basil, but it's his eccentricity, not his lust, that drives the plot.
Well, it's he's such a prude. John Cleese has said that Basil works because he's such a prude.
Yes. Yeah.
That he can't get beyond.
Yeah.
Anything, he's
any
got this
idea
terrible,
of impropriety.
Any impropriety. He's very class conscious, which is the very British thing.
Yeah.
He wants to be very slightly upper crust. And I've heard Prunella Scales, who played his wife. God.
Sybil.
What? Sybil, thank you.
Sybil.
It's only written down right here in front of my
Sybil.
face.
Oh, look, it is. It's sitting written down right there.
She played Sybil. But, she's talked about how her idea of how she ended up married to Basil was because he was slightly more upper class than she was.
Yes.
And she was just kind of taken in by
him.
And only finding out later what a twit he was.
Basil.
But the Connie Booth and Cleese were married in the first series. They were divorced by the time the second series came on. But they still both credit each other as being great writing partners. They the marriage was kind of this. They kept them separate somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they still both as writing partners. They speak very highly. But I've also heard John Cleese say that they were very lucky with that second season because he uses Fierce Creatures as a sort of an example of a second chance.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Often doesn't work, that they really understood that the first series was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
And that they really had to work triple hard to make the second season. And the second season in a lot of ways is better. Because it's the Kipper and the Corpse, it's the Basil the Rat, it's communication problems, it's the, those are great.
Yeah, no, I think it's some of the best stuff. But it is amazing because you think they spent 6 weeks together per episode. So what is that? 36 weeks they had to spend together after they were divorced. Yeah, writing the last 6 episodes.
I've heard John Cleese also the Fawlty Towers. Your standard half-hour BBC sitcom script was something like 30 pages. Mm-hmm. Theirs would frequently run to 50, 60.
Yeah.
Because there's so much in each episode. They move so fast.
Yeah.
And there's so much in
very
episode.
Quick.
Well, it's funny because you talk about them husband and wife and they were divorced and everything. That's actually the plot. We were talking about Burt Reynolds' films outside. That's the plot of his movie Best Friends. Him and Goldie Hawn. Yeah. That they're these phenomenal writers that are just dating. Yeah. And then they get married and things go off the deep end.
Yeah. So. There's a really obscure off-Broadway musical called They're Playing Our Song, which originally starred Lucille Ball's daughter and Robert Klein were the original cast. But they're a songwriting couple who have gotten divorced and write songs together. Carlson did a production of it. It was the one that Russell built that lucite clear grand piano for.
Oh yeah.
I remember going out to the shop while they were experimenting with the lucite to make it. It was awesome. It was a baby grand piano. Didn't play, but it was a baby grand piano made out of clear lucite.
Yep.
Because Casa Maniano was theater in the round. Right. So you couldn't put a real piano on stage.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Anyway.
Yeah. Heavy, too, if I remember correctly.
Oh, God, yeah. Took about 6 people to get it moved. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was on stage the whole show. So.
Yeah. He would also often address Sybil in faux romantic ways, as referring to her as the golden puff adder.
Yeah.
My little nest of vipers.
Yeah.
My little piranha fish.
Yes.
But he's often intimidated by Sybil.
Yeah.
With her sharp cry of, Basil!
Basil!
At the end of some episode, Basil succeeds in annoying or at least bemusing the guests and frequently gets his comeuppance.
Yeah, almost always. In fact, I don't think he ever really wins. I don't think in any of them he ever really comes out.
Oh my God, the one with the bet where he finally gets the money back.
Well, that's communication problem. That's the one with the hearing aid.
Yeah, and he drops the face and he has to give her the money.
Yeah. What is it? They've given her the money back and she's like, and he's holding his money that's actually her money.
Yeah.
But he's like, got it. And she's like, what's that? And he says, this is mine.
This is mine. And then he breaks the vase. She's like, that cost me 60 pounds.
Yeah. And the builders where he hires the cheaper builder. You are orderly men.
You are orderly men. You are orderly.
Look at paid to have it. I tell you, Mr. Fawlty, if the good Lord is mentioned one more time, I shall move you closer to him. It's a really great Basil Fawlty line. My wife smiles, I worry.
So yeah, that's basically
Fawlty Towers.
Yeah, there you go. It's in a nutshell. There you go.
Yeah, this may be the one of the shorter ones we've ever done.
Yeah. This is
the shorter ones.
Yeah, well, I mean, the episodes were only half an hour, and actually, most of them are over half an hour. Most of them ran long.
Yeah. You're talking 6 hours total of the whole series.
And the long story short,
maybe a little more.
The long story short of it is people really ought to take a look at it.
Oh yeah,
hysterical.
and there's no specials, there's no extras. There's literally the 12 episodes. There's rumors that there was a 13th episode that was never produced, but even John Cleese and Connie Booth have both been like, we don't know where that came from. It doesn't exist.
Because again, it took them 6 weeks to write us every single episode.
They have always said there can't be a reboot. The 2 seasons that's all the jokes you could do. They tried to do the American version with John Larroquette, for crying out loud.
Did they?
the Basil Fawlty.
I remember that.
Did they really?
10 episodes it ran.
Was it terrible?
Oh God, it was awful.
Yeah.
And I love John
I know,
Larroquette.
John Larroquette's great,
is amazing.
But it was awful.
I may have to check that out.
Because think about it. The American sensibility
Yeah.
towards a rude hotel owner.
He's
just going to get punched in every episode.
Yeah.
It's always going to end up in a brawl.
Yeah.
The British are too polite and too class conscious and too staid, and that's part of why Basil being so awful works because...
But it makes sense they did John Larroquette. Think about the majority of his characters.
If anybody's, tall, gangly guy who's going to play the curmudgeon really good.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know...
And he's pretty good at physical comedy.
I don't think the episode has released yet. Maybe it has, and I don't know if you're aware. They're rebooting Night Court.
Yeah, I heard
John Larroquette in it.
Yeah. Every time somebody reboots something, I roll my eyes. I'm not even convinced that Ghostbusters Afterlife's going to be any damn good, and I've seen trailers for it.
Yeah, it's getting a lot of good reviews.
Adam Savage won't shut up about it. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, Night Court's not a reboot as much as it's a continuation.
Right.
Melissa Rauch is taking over as Judge Stone's daughter in the same court.
Yeah, I just don't know.
I'm going to give it a shot because I loved Night Court. worked.
I did too, but it doesn't hold up. I've recently gone back and watched it. I don't think it holds up as well. The physical comedy is really good. Dan is a really squirmy, uncomfortable character.
He is.
Through today's lens, it's even more squirmy and uncomfortable.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't thought about it on that.
And, you know, I love Harry Anderson. I'm a big Harry Anderson fan.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Hello, Sucker. I wish, because the only way you could see Harry Anderson's Hello, Sucker, which was the Showtime special that he did, where he does the shell game. You know,
I loved watching his magic.
But that's, the only way you can watch it is like 360p on YouTube. God, I wish somebody would do a nice 480 at least remaster of that.
Yeah,
I doubt you'd be able to go back to the original film they shot it on, but certainly you could go back to some original videotape and clean it up, because boy, that would be
I'd love to
nice
see that.
to see. Because in his stand-up comedy, when it was on, and that particular special that was on, he did a couple of more specials for NBC that were not quite so good. He did one that was all set around a circus sideshow. And it tried to have this kind of subplot where the magic acts sort of led like musical numbers from one story beat to the other. And I can't even remember who all the guest star people in it were. That's how awful it was. It was just, and it wasn't even bad. It was just dull. Which is almost worse than bad.
Well,
you know?
And that's the thing. I mean, because going back to
people like to watch train wrecks.
Yeah.
But
the John Larroquette attempt at Fawlty Towers, no, it was not good. I do remember that.
I don't remember. I didn't see it at all.
I'd completely forgotten about it.
I probably steered clear from it for a reason then.
Yeah, and this was and also it was in the late 80s. It was post Night Court. It was just post Night Court. So it was even a few years after the fact. So I mean, because John Larroquette was the selling point of the idea.
Well, and it's it's a shame because the sitcom he did after that, where he was running a bus station, he was a recovering alcoholic, was really good.
It was. It actually was. And it had some good supporting actors.
Yes.
It had a great supporting cast.
Oh
Yes.
That show was
I
great.
That show.
Yeah.
Marsha Warfield, I think, guest starred in that at one point.
I thought she was a regular on it.
Maybe she was a regular. Maybe did she work in the bus station? Maybe that
something like that. She was a driver that came through occasionally.
Maybe.
Because it seems to me that it was one of those shows that you went on and looking for people who were Night Court around.
Yeah, sure.
It's like watching Night Court and looking for all the character actors who were on Barney Miller
or Star Trek.
Because Reinhold Weege was the.
Is that how you pronounce his name?
It's Weege. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I've actually heard the man himself pronounce it, so it's Reinhold Weege.
Was that famous episode where they in Night Court where they say Reinhold? What kind of
name
is Reinhold?
Yeah, they made Dan's middle name Reinhold.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But Reinhold Weege was a latter producer and writer of most of the last couple of seasons of Barney Miller. And so he got to know all of those great character actors who could do these New York personalities, which are the same kind of characters that came through Barney Miller, came through the courtroom. Sure. It was perfect. Sure. And Brent Spiner.
Yes.
This has turned into a show at Night Court, hasn't it? And Brent Spiner.
Yeah.
John Astin.
I'm feeling much better now.
Yes. Brent Spiner's character in Night Court was just
a scream.
Great. Every single time.
Yep.
Love that. But yeah, no, Fawlty
Towers, that's the show. That's
Fawlty Towers.
That's what we're talking about.
Definitely give it a shot. I mean, it's one of the great British comedies.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can shuffle play it along with you
do not have to watch it in order.
You don't have to watch it in order, and you can shuffle play it with Blackadder, and you can shuffle play it with a lot of them, and put yourself together a really great entertaining British humor night.
Oh yeah.
The other one I really like is To the Manor Born.
Yes.
That's a good one. I recently rewatched the whole of that, all of it.
With Penelope...
Penelope Keith, who was also on Good Neighbors.
Yes.
She was Margot on Good Neighbors.
Yeah.
Who was always much funnier on Good Neighbors than she ever really... She was always sort of overshadowed by Richard Briers being hammy and Shakespearean silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was. Oh God, she was funny as Margot.
Yeah.
Well, really, kind of the overarching theme here is if you haven't watched BBC comedies, the old BBC comedies, you need to watch them.
There's a lot of them.
My
And
goodness,
there are
yeah.
a ton of them.
Yeah.
There
Oh
are.
yeah, because they do sitcom. Honestly, back in the day, they did sitcoms better than we did.
Yeah.
I'll say it.
Well,
Yeah,
I think by and
would
large,
disagree.
I think by and large, the British practice of short seasons closer together.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, we're adopting that now.
Yeah, the internet tubes have kind of made that a thing now, where it's much easier to say, oh well, we can put up 6 episodes of something, and if it doesn't fly, we haven't shot 24.
Right.
Yes. Well, and you don't get any filler. There are no filler episodes of Fawlty Towers.
No,
Never.
Yeah, because it's not the kind of show where
Yeah.
there ever would be anyway. I
Yeah.
think. I mean, it was it's like Night Court. There's no filler episodes of Night Court.
No.
I think they did one clip show.
Yeah.
But Barney Miller. They pretty much didn't really do any filler on it. But we're talking about exceptionally well written.
Yeah.
well
Exactly,
produced.
right.
I mean,
Right.
Silver Spoons.
Yeah.
Was another matter entirely.
Yeah, there were
you
filler
go back
episodes.
you go back and there's this great distance between Fawlty Towers and sitcoms of that ilk. Since we're kind of ostensibly still talking about Fawlty
Yes.
Towers,
Right.
There's those really great sitcoms that are Fawlty Towers, Barney Miller, MASH that are truly beyond the time they were made in.
Yes.
They exist.
They were culturally relevant.
They respected their audience. They didn't talk down to their audience. They knew where their audience's sense of humor was, and they didn't wait for anybody else to catch up. You were either there or you weren't. And then all the hit shows that are basically on at the same time. You're talking The Facts of Life, Different Strokes, Silver Spoons. You're talking the fluffiest. And Night Court, you go back and you watch those, and they're all filler episodes because it's all about. And I'm going to offend you. It's like Friends, where all you're doing is getting to a punchline. That's all you're doing. There's nothing else going on.
But you're getting to a punchline.
Yeah, and one of the funniest things I've ever seen are the clips of Friends without the laugh track, because it's like, see, that's not writing. I'm sorry. I know you're a fan. I know you're a fan.
Friends.
And
And again, I'm a fan of the first 3 seasons. I thought they were really funny.
I'm not. It is what it is. It's the show that it is, and it's not the kind of comedy that speaks to me. I like a kind of comedy that. It's the same reason I tried to watch Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory
But
is great.
I think after the first couple of seasons, it started to fall into the same trap of,
gosh, no.
Okay, all right, they're going to softball this joke to me. I'm going to see this joke coming for the whole episode. All I got to do is wait for this punchline to come. That's just a personal thing. It's like that kind of thing I find very hard. It doesn't maintain my attention because I feel like, okay, well, it's all these small jokes heading to this big joke.
Big joke at the end.
I like, and the jokes are very often jokey. They're not jokes that come out of the mouth of a character. They're the jokes that come out of a writer.
Yeah.
They're probably funnier on the page than they are.
Yeah, what Cree refers to as, that was a cocaine joke.
Yeah, or that was a 3 a.m. 30th cup of coffee joke.
Yeah.
You wonder. And Night Court falls somewhere in between Fawlty Towers and the others.
Yeah,
Great
I would
show,
say so.
But not one that is holding its age very well.
Yeah, not as much as Barney Miller, which came out before.
Yeah, in spite of the polyester in Barney Miller.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
but you could make Barney Miller today, and it would still be just as good.
And you could take this. And the other thing is, you could take the laugh track out of Barney Miller, and it would be every bit as good.
You think so?
Yeah, even though they used the limitation, if you will, of a laugh track.
Yeah.
And ultimately played it like an instrument.
Yeah.
Because so much of Barney Miller was not shot with a live audience by the time they got into the third or fourth season.
Yeah.
They didn't bother with an audience.
Yeah.
They'd run it through once with an audience so that they could tell the network they had an audience. But then they'd work until 3, 4 in the morning reshooting the show without an audience.
Oh, wow.
Which is why the drama on that show works so well. Because they took the time to really play it.
Right on.
Great. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, that is a history of sitcoms.
Yes,
in
right on.
20 minutes or less.
Okay, so when I said we used to talk about comedy, this is what we used to do till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning when we were 16, 17 years
Or
old.
just sit around and make random puns based on whatever.
Yeah.
I've had these conversations with you over the years. I mean, It doesn't shock me in the least little bit. So cool. Good stuff. I appreciate it. With that, we probably take it over to the murdery side of the house.
The murder.
Okay, so for my side of the house today, we're back on the murder, and where I got my information from. I heard this twice on 2 different podcasts. One was on Crime Junkie, which is great, and This Is Why We Drink. I got it off theirs as well. Two really good sites that cover this really well. But I got my information from the New York Post, Wikipedia, Murderpedia, Biography, Alaska Public Media, ABC News, CBS News, CCTV footage, and The Cinemaholic. So for this episode, I just titled this A New Type of Serial Killer.
Okay.
So,
I always knew there was something funny about Captain Crunch.
So we're going to start on June 2nd, 2011. Bill and Lorraine Currier were asleep in their home in Essex, Vermont. It's a little town of only about 19,000 people. They woke up to find a large masked man dressed all in black in their bedroom holding a gun at them. The man ordered them to roll over on the bed onto their stomachs and then zip-tied their wrists while barraging them with questions. Do you have a safe? Do you have guns? Do you have prescription drugs? Where's your jewelry? Where's your ATM card? What's your PIN? The man then grabbed 2 suitcases and began stuffing them with clothes and other personal effects. And then the masked man then told the couriers they were all leaving the house. He marched the couriers out to the garage. He put Lorraine into the front passenger seat with her hands still zip-tied behind her back and belted her in. And then he restrained Bill the same way in the back passenger seat and then slowly drove their Saturn out of the garage. They begged. Bill needed his medicine. They had no money. If he'd just let them go, he could take the car, the little cash they had, everything. They wouldn't tell a soul. The man said, "Oh, don't worry. This is just a kidnapping for ransom. I'm bringing you to a drop house. Other people will take it from there. You'll be fine." Around 4 a.m., the man pulled up to an abandoned farmhouse off Route 15. What?
We're just looking at each other like, oh my God!
We're about to explode over here. Oh my God! What?
We're just passing looks.
He's got somebody else to react to now. So.
The house that they pulled off to, the farmhouse, had a for sale sign staked in the grass. And the man said, "I always stop at empty houses, especially if they have for sale signs." The man then cut the lights in the ignition, leaving Lorraine tied in the front seat. He forced Bill through the basement's outdoor entrance and down the stairs and tied him to a stool within minutes. The man then walked up and went outside, and Lorraine was out of the car and standing up. Excuse me. Lorraine saw the man and she started running as fast as she could towards the main road, but the man was faster. He tackled her and dragged her back to the house, pushing her up the stairs and into a bedroom. He strapped Lorraine's arms and legs to the bed with duct tape and then wrapped a rope around her neck and under the mattress, tying it off with a compound knot. She fought him the whole time. Bill started shouting from the basement, which echoed through the whole house, "Where's my wife? Where's my wife?" So the man then checked his knots to make sure they were secure. He then grabbed a knife, his .40 caliber revolver, and his water bottle before heading down to the basement. When he got down there, Bill was partway free and the stool was in pieces. The man hit Bill with a shovel that he had found in the basement, but Bill didn't go down. It took one more hit to knock him to the floor. The man then ran upstairs. The propane stove he had set up had fallen through a hole in the bedroom floor. He panicked. The house was dry wood. It wouldn't take much for it to flame up fast. Incredibly, downstairs, Bill was back on his feet and yelling. The man just ran back. He started firing like a reflex, shooting Bill in the arms, head, neck, and chest. Bill Currier was standing, but took one last breath and then fell to the floor. The man then went back upstairs to Lorraine. He lifted off some of the freestanding doors and covered the bedroom windows, which faced the road. He cut off Lorraine's clothes with the knife, and Lorraine was still fighting him. He raped her twice, then brought her down to the basement where he sat her on a bench and presented his final scene, her husband shot to death, lying in his own blood. The man put on a pair of leather batting gloves at that point. He stood behind Lorraine and strangled her with a rope. Even after he felt the life go out of her, he needed to make sure this couple was tougher than he could have imagined. He wrapped a zip tie around Lorraine's neck and pulled. Nothing. The man was now running out of time. He dragged Lorraine's body over to Bill and cut off the restraints. He poured Drano over their hands and faces, bagged each of their bodies in two 55-gallon trash bags, then rolled the remains over to the basement's southeast corner, piling garbage and wood on the top. He was in such a rush, he left all of his shell casings on the basement floor. The sun was up by now, people traveling Route 15 on their way to work. The man had planned to burn the house with the bodies inside, but it was too late. Not really a problem. He was sure that whoever eventually bought this house would do it for the property and tear it down or torch it. The smell from the basement would be so putrid it would keep most curious at bay. Plus, the likely assumption would be that a wild animal wandered in and died. No, he was not worried about anyone finding the remains. The man grabbed most of his stuff and drove the courier's car to a nearby Rite Aid parking lot where he'd left his own rental the night before. He left the Green Saturn as far from surveillance cameras as he could and walked to his car, head down and covered with a hoodie. He got in, left the state, and headed up to Maine. The FBI never found the courier's remains. The house had indeed been torn down, the bodies unwittingly excavated and dumped into the local landfill. If the man hadn't confessed, they never would have solved that crime, let alone had any idea what happened to the couriers, who, to neighbors and law enforcement, had simply vanished one dark night. This is the story of Israel Keyes.
Okay, I was going to ask, who told this story? How do we get this? Because he confessed.
Israel Keyes.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's spooky.
So, and that, and I very intentionally started the story this way. Because it was just really, 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 really creepy to get to, and I mean, I'm just envisioning everything as it went, so it was wild.
And kind of incompetent he was, because apparently had trouble keeping them where he wanted them.
Right. Israel Keyes was born in Cove, Utah, on January 7th, 1978, to a very large Mormon family.
So a youngish guy.
Mm-hmm. He was the second of 10 children. Born to Heidi Israel, and John Geoffrey Israel. And they were, Israel and all of his siblings were homeschooled. When he was 5, the family rejected Mormonism and moved to an area near Colville, Washington. They lived in a one-room cabin there without any electricity or running water. It was in Colville where the family attended 2 churches, the Ark and the Christian Israel Covenant Church, both of which practiced white supremacy Christian identity ideology.
Oh, lovely.
Israel
Great.
Israel later described this community as militia-like and Amish.
Militia-like and Amish. Well, now there's a combination.
I know, what a combination, right? It was actually during this time period Israel befriended the neighboring family of Chevy Kehoe, who would later be convicted, coincidentally, for a 1996 triple murder.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Israel renounced the Christian faith by his teenage years and eventually became interested in Satanism. Growing up, Israel broke into neighbors' homes to steal guns. He was an avid hunter. He would pursue anything with a heartbeat and torture animals, which, as we know, is a behavior linked to psychopaths.
Yep.
He served in the Army from 1998 to 2001 at Fort Lewis, Fort Hood, and in Egypt. While in Fort Lewis, he served on a mortar team in the 1st Battalion, 5th Infantry, 25th Infantry Division. Former Army friends of Israel noticed his quiet demeanor and habit of keeping to himself. On weekends, he was reported to drink heavily, consuming entire bottles of his favorite drink, Wild Turkey Bourbon.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
A little discernment, please.
Well, this probably was this was the worst one of all to me. Israel was also a fan of the hip hop duo Insane Clown Posse.
Oh,
and
I liked them.
I didn't. And displayed posters
what did they
of the
call them?
barracks.
Juggalos?
Juggalos.
Yeah. Israel did receive a DWI while in the Army, but otherwise he had no trouble with the law. He got an honorable discharge in 2001, and then went and lived on the Makah Indian Reservation in Washington. I hope that's pronounced right. Makah. Makah.
Makah.
In Washington with the mother of his daughter. Their daughter was born sometime around 2001. There wasn't a whole lot of information about the mother, although she was part of that Indian reservation, which was how he got to live on there. He met her and they got together. He did work with a man named Eric Johnson at the Parks and Rec Department while on the reservation. And Eric called Israel a great family guy, a smart guy, a gifted carpenter, well-spoken, and an upstanding member of the community.
Huh.
Upstanding member of the community.
Yeah, that's a recurring theme on this show.
I know, right? It's always the ones you don't suspect.
No. All right, so Israel moved to Alaska in 2007 and lived with his daughter and his girlfriend, Kimberly Anderson, in Anchorage's Turnagain neighborhood, near many of the city's most prominent citizens, top attorneys, law enforcement officials, and he operated a one-man contracting business. He was very well known in Anchorage as a really good handyman, and neighbors said he just didn't stand out.
Nondescript.
Right. No.
Nondescript.
What Israel did, and this is what just really drew me to this story and why I said this was a new type of serial killer, is Israel targeted random people from all across the United States to avoid detection.
I was just about to ask you where in the world he picked. Yeah.
Random.
Yeah, because that was in Vermont?
That was in Vermont. He lived in Alaska.
Wow.
So he did it all across America to avoid detection. He did months of planning before he did something. This gets wild. He specifically went to campgrounds and isolated locations. He only used guns when he had to, and he preferred strangulation as he liked to see them suffer.
Oh, he's charming.
Yes. According to Israel, his first planned attack took place in Oregon in 1997 or 1998. He abducted a teenage girl, then raped her. His intent was to murder her, but she convinced him to let her leave. Israel claimed he took at least 5 other lives, but he never named these victims. Per his account, he killed 4 people in Washington State, a couple sometime between 2001 and 2005, and 2 separate victims in 2005 and 2006. He also stated that in 2009, he murdered someone on the East Coast, then left the body in New York State. In late 2012, authorities had not determined the identity, age, or gender of the victim, or when and where the murder may have occurred, but regarded the confession as credible. The FBI is relatively confident that this victim was Deborah Feldman, who was a 49-year-old New Jersey resident who went missing on April 8th, 2009. Israel had ties to New York. He owned 10 acres there and a dilapidated cabin in the town of Constable. He also confessed to committing bank robberies in New York and Texas. The FBI later confirmed that Israel robbed the community bank in Tupper Lake, New York in April of 2009. He told authorities that he had burglarized a Texas home and set it on fire. He said he robbed banks to fund his travels along with the money he made as a general contractor. This was according to the FBI. And he also told authorities he broke into as many as 30 homes throughout the country, and he talked about covering up a homicide through arson. Speculation about other possible Israel victims has included a 12-year-old girl named Julie Harris, who disappeared on Colville on March 3rd, 1996. If this is correct, his first statement about his first abduction was a lie. Mm-hmm. Julie's prosthetic feet were found a month after she vanished, and her remains were found in 1997. Israel was in the area when Julie went missing, but he's denied any involvement. Israel has also been assumed as responsible for other unsolved crimes, such as the murders of 56-year-old Mary Cooper and her 27-year-old daughter, Susanna Stodden, who were both shot while hiking in Washington State in 2006. So, wow. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's disconcerting.
Well, this is where it gets
Especially that it's so recent.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very, very much so. But here's where it got really, just where they knew it was a new type of killer. He planned his murders long ahead of time and took extraordinary action to avoid detection. Unlike most serial killers, he did not have a victim profile, saying he chose a victim randomly. He usually killed far from home and never in the same area twice. He did say the birth of his daughter changed things for him. He would not kill a kid or someone who had kids after his daughter was born.
Uh-huh.
On his murder trips, he kept his mobile phone turned off and paid for items in cash. He had no connection to any of his victims. For the Courier murders, Israel flew to Chicago, where he rented a car to drive 1,000 miles to Vermont. He then used the kill cache or murder kit he had hidden 2 years earlier near the Courier's home to perform the murders.
Holy moly.
After their murders, he moved the kit to a new hiding place in Parrishville, New York, where they remained until his arrest. He reportedly hid these kill caches all over the country, and he would bury them months in advance. And if the urge to struck, he'd go where he already knew he had a kit buried and randomly pick somebody out.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I may talk about it later. I don't remember, but the whole thing with the Couriers was literally he felt the urge and he went and checked into a hotel, went on a walk and went, that house.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that later, so I'm sorry if I repeat myself there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's,
I know.
I mean,
truly.
Literally, truly, that's just horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the world coming to, sort of thing?
I know, right? and this is what I research all the time. This is the kind of stuff I'm reading.
I'd rather read stuff about Fawlty Towers.
Right, I know.
Yeah, I
know.
was gonna say I've been reading about Stanford and MASH, dude.
Well, for his last murder victim, he got really, really bold. And I put a point in here. Maybe he finally wanted to get caught because he broke his own rules and chose a victim near his home. Israel spent several evenings watching the Common Grounds Coffee Shack kiosk. I thought that was a clever name. Common Grounds. He said something about it called to him. And after several evenings of observation, he decided to rob it. And this was on February 1st, 2012. The kiosk sat along a very heavily trafficked road. I saw a documentary on this. I just could not believe that this happened on this road because there was a lot of traffic going through. But they said that it had been such a heavy snowfall that the shack was kind of obscured behind 5-foot snowdrifts. So they didn't. It wasn't that way in the video. It was kind of hard to imagine. But yeah, this is not a remote coffee stand. Right across the street, or right next door, there's a dealership. There was a Dairy Queen across the street, and the road was very busy. But the service window did face away from the street.
Right on.
So, he had selected Common Grounds for the site of his newest victim after considering other coffee stands, but he chose Common Grounds because of its location, and it was open later than other coffee stands. He approached it just before closing time, wearing a ski mask, and he put down his empty thermos and he asked the barista for an Americano. This was apparently his favorite coffee. And now, when she got his thermos, now he had a really good look at her. She was young, she was small, she was pretty, and she was alone. Her name was Samantha Koenig. Samantha made the coffee and handed it to Israel, at which point he pulled out a gun and said, "Give me all your money." So this is where they had this all on CCTV. I saw this whole video where she puts the thermos down and then you see her do this immediately and back up. She did comply, but then Israel forced himself inside and he tied Samantha's hands with zip ties. He asked her where her car was and she said she didn't have one, that her father would be picking her up soon. So then he forcibly walked her out of the coffee stand towards Tudor Road, stuffed some napkins in her mouth and told her they were going for a walk. All of this was on camera footage.
Oh,
they had
my
all
Lord.
of it. And as you watch him take her off out of the camera range, it was just wild that the whole thing was caught. As they were going through the parking lot, Israel noticed a camera on the ground, decided it was worth something, so he bent over to pick it up, at which point Samantha tried to run away. Israel chased her and tackled her to the ground. He put one arm around her and pointed a gun at her body with the other hand, and he told her that she needed to cooperate, that the gun had very quiet ammo, and she should not do anything to make him kill her.
Very quiet ammo. Well, that's a new one.
Yeah. This next several part, I'm going to promise you right now, is going to drive you insane. I promise.
Okay. Well, all right then.
So
Heck of a lead-in.
So he's got her being compliant. He walks her across Tudor Road into the parking lot between the IHOP and the Dairy Queen that I mentioned.
Which were busy.
Yes. And Israel's his own truck was there. He said that he had previously prepared the truck for the abduction because he took the toolbox off the bed as well as removing the license plate. But this wasn't normal for him to use his own vehicle. There were some people lingering near the car, parked right in front of Israel's truck, but Samantha was too paralyzed with fear to do anything.
Oh.
She had napkins stuffed in her mouth so she couldn't yell.
No, he took them out at that point. And there's people there.
Wow.
And he just stuffed her into his truck. And then, she had to sit there silently as the people that were right in front of him got in the car and drove away. Mm. So Israel then bound Samantha in the truck, and they drove away. He drove out of the IHOP parking lot, and minutes later was at a red light. A police car with 2 officers inside pulled up to the passenger side of the truck.
Okay, the truck that didn't have a license plate on it. Mm-hmm. Why did they not stop him then?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. I'm sorry. That makes me angry.
My brain was doing that too.
Yeah, that makes me angry.
Apparently, the officers had their windows up and were not paying attention to the truck. They were listening to dispatches on the radio. He had a radio in his ear, and he was listening to their dispatches, so he knew they weren't on to him. The light turned green, and the police car drove away. That part just maddened me.
Wow.
Maddened me. Just how close, twice right there. Israel wasn't sure what to do next. He'd never done this near home. Wasn't sure what to do with Samantha. So he drove around town, explained to Samantha this was a kidnapping for ransom. We heard this before. Mm-hmm. Samantha told Israel that her family didn't have much money and that he was not likely to get much in ransom. So he explained, they'll raise the money for ransom by seeking the public's help. Israel then convinced Samantha that if she cooperated, she would be returned to her family unharmed. So she told him she believed him and then tried to talk to him in an effort to kind of convince him to release her. At some point in the drive, Israel realized that Samantha did not have her cell phone. Here's the next part that's going to get you maddened. She didn't have her cell phone, which was necessary for his plan to demand ransom because he wanted to send text from her phone. So he drove back to Common Grounds and re-entered the coffee stand, leaving her bound in the truck, got her cell phone, got back in the truck, and drove away.
What? Okay, I can't figure out if this guy's kind of really creepy, brilliant, or just kind of creepy, incompetent.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Well, okay.
So he got the cell phone, then what happened?
Yeah.
What the hell?
So he drove.
I'm with you.
He drove to another part of town and he sent 2 text messages from her phone. The first was to Samantha's boyfriend, the second to the owner of Common Grounds, and the texts made it appear that Samantha just had a bad day and was leaving town for the weekend. He then took the battery out of her phone and, now we dropped the signal. He then asked Samantha for her debit card. Samantha told Israel that she shared a bank account with her boyfriend and that his ATM card was in the truck that they shared. She told Israel where her house was and gave him the PIN number to the ATM card. She thought that he might.
I guess under threat,
or she wanted to believe
he
was going to release
sit
her.
In a chair in this comfortable room.
Well, she wanted to believe that he was going to release her.
Right. Sure.
So. This just, I don't understand. So Israel took her to his house at this point.
What?
And there was a shed in the front of his house where he bound her and turned the radio up in the shed so no one would hear her if she screamed. And this part of it was really odd. I read somewhere that Israel's girlfriend was a night owl and that his daughter was sleeping in the house. This must be an awfully good soundproof shed.
Right.
I didn't understand this part. He also told her he had a police...
And nobody's going to question a loud radio in a shed.
I know, and that's what I thought was weird.
Yeah,
But again, so remember, as we kind of go back, this is his tale.
Yeah.
So, he also told her that he had a police scanner and would know if she attempted to alert the neighbors. Israel then drove to Samantha's house and retrieved the ATM card from her truck. While he was there, he was confronted by her boyfriend, who yelled at him and then went back in the house to get help. Israel ran back to his truck and left the area before he could be found. I know. Another one.
Now I just want to know how this dude ended up getting caught. Keep going.
Well, he drove to an ATM machine to test the PIN number, and it worked. And then he returned to the shed. Trigger warning here for anybody. He then sexually assaulted her and asphyxiated her. He left her in the shed and went back inside the house, where he packed for a pre-planned cruise that he was taking from to New Orleans. And he left early that next morning, February 2nd, for the cruise.
Wow.
And left a dead body in his own shed.
He returned to Anchorage on February 17th, 2012. 12 days that he left that body in the shed.
Wait. But there was a 5-foot snowbank?
At the coffee grounds.
Well, yeah, in Anchorage. Yeah, it's going to be cold.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the body may have kept.
Yeah.
No, it did. It absolutely did. It just amazed me. He left her. He went on this cruise like nothing. I mean, with his girlfriend and his daughter is who he went on this cruise with. 12 days. So he came back and then began preparing a ransom note that demanded money be placed in the account connected with the ATM card. He then went to the shed and retrieved her body, taking steps to make it appear that she was still alive, and took a Polaroid picture of her all tied up. So her body had been kept frozen until he returned. He groomed her, sewed her eyes open, and sat her up to take a Polaroid picture. The picture also showed Israel's arm holding the Anchorage Daily News from February 13th, 2012. He photocopied the photo, and using a manual typewriter he purchased, he typed a ransom note, demand for $30,000 on the back of the photo. After preparing the note and the photo, he placed it in Connor Park under a memorial flyer of a dog named Albert. Then, using Samantha's cell phone, he texted her boyfriend that the ransom note was under Albert in Connor Park. The text specifically said, "Connor Park sign under pic of Albert, ain't she purty?" The note was then recovered by the Anchorage Police Department.
Finally.
In the days that followed, Israel dismembered Samantha's body and drove her out to Matanuska Lake, where he cut a hole in the ice and put her body in the lake. Meanwhile, Samantha's father, James Koenig, deposited the reward money, which had been generously donated by members of the community, into the account connected with the ATM card. The plan was to catch the perpetrator by attracting withdrawals. ATM withdrawals were made in Anchorage, then in Wilcox, Arizona, Lordsburg, New Mexico, and then Humble, Texas, and then Shepherd, Texas. So he was making his way south and east. The FBI and the authorities were able to determine that the perpetrator of these withdrawals was driving a white Ford Focus, and then the FBI and Texas Rangers were tracking the ATM withdrawals as they occurred. Ultimately, Corporal Brian Henry of the Texas Highway Patrol pulled over a white Ford Focus matching the description. He originally saw the Ford Focus at a hotel, saw a man get into the car, and then followed him until the driver exceeded the speed limit, which gave him probable cause to stop the car. Israel was driving, and he was pulled over in the parking lot of the Cotton Patch Cafe in Lufkin, Texas, for speeding on the morning of March 13th, 2012. And then Corporal Henry, along with Texas Ranger Steve Rayburn, obtained enough information during the traffic stop to search the Ford Focus. They said that Israel's odd behavior during the stop prompted them to investigate the car further. They found Samantha's cell phone inside, as well as her ATM card and the license that was found in Israel's wallet. Israel was then extradited to Alaska, where he confessed to the murder of Samantha Koenig. His trial was scheduled to begin in March 2013. So, while incarcerated, he spoke to investigators several times, and there was a lot of video of his interrogations. Yeah, this guy was a wackadoo. A pretty severe
wackadoo.
Is that a technical term?
It was very creepy. It was very creepy watching the interrogation videos. He cooperated to an extent. He confessed to some of the crimes, and he stated that he wanted to be executed within a year. He wanted to avoid publicity due to the negative attention to that his young daughter might face, but he mostly stopped cooperating after his identity was discussed in the media. Many of his answers to his questions became, "I don't know if I want to go into that today." That part, they'd ask him a question, and you just watch it. So what about this? Is this? Oh, I don't know if I want to go into that today. Maybe soon, maybe sometime, but not today. On Wednesday, May 23rd, 2012, Israel attempted an escape during a routine hearing. He broke through his leg irons and jumped over a railing, but a taser was used in efforts to quickly get in. They were quickly subdued. Then while in jail at the Anchorage Correctional Complex on suspicion of murder, he hasn't been to trial yet, he managed to conceal a razor blade, and he died by suicide on December 2nd, 2012 via self-inflicted wrist cuts and attempted strangulation.
Whoa.
A suicide note was found under his body that consisted of an ode to murder, but offered no clues about other possible victims. In 2020, the FBI released the drawings of 11 skulls and 1 pentagram, which had been drawn in blood and found underneath Israel's jail cell bed after his suicide. One of the drawings included the phrase, "We are one," written at the bottom, and the FBI believed that the number of skulls correlates with what are believed to be the total number of his victims.
Wow.
And that's the story of Israel Keys.
Oh, man.
I told you it was a wild one.
That was nuts.
Every time somebody tells me I'm not quite right, there's people like that out there that just really aren't right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty square in comparison.
Yeah. I mean, and Israel Keys was just...
You wonder what drives people to do that.
Oh, sure. Well, and I mean, in him, it's that community that he moved into with the white supremacists and the very militia-like, because they were probably very abusive. They lived in a house without any electricity, without any running water, which in itself, in this day and age, that's pretty abusive.
These fringe groups like that are, generally speaking, really kind of scary people.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sort of attitude tends to breed violence.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it thinks that violence is the only solution.
But the worst thing, the things on him that just really, really twisted up my noodle were the kill kits.
Yeah,
because
that is spooky.
They think they're still out there. The FBI has said that if you find one of these, don't touch it. Leave it right where it is, because they're sure there are more across the country. Wow!
So in these kill kits, so what? It's cash and
he had guns, knives, zip ties.
So it's all
ski
the stuff.
masks.
It's all the stuff he needs. It's like a little trunk somewhere. Wow!
There was
insane.
There was one
we
that
keep saying that as if it's going to change things.
Well, on the
but it literally is.
On the 48 hours I watched it, they actually had one of them, and they brought everything out on the table and laid it out. I mean, guns with silencers, huge silencers, assault rifles with silencers, and they were.
You say kill kit, and I think kit, but you're talking crates.
Home Depot orange buckets.
Yeah. Okay.
Home Depot orange buckets.
Man. Wow.
Wow. I'm sure Home Depot loved that.
Right. But I mean, they were very obviously the Home Depot orange buckets. Right. But there was that, and like I said, I didn't have it in here after all, but he did for the couriers. He checked into a hotel in their city when he got the urge, and he just went for a walk that night and went, that house, that one right there, that's the one that's the one I'm going to take people from.
Man.
At complete random, and that's what was so bad. Why the FBI was not connecting him?
Because they were all over the country.
All over the country. I really think he had decided. You know what? I'm ready to be caught. I'm ready to be done with this. I'm ready to, because he was very sure of himself in the interrogation videos. I mean, he was very cocky.
Well, because he's found a way to mentally convince himself that he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
which is almost as terrifying as actually doing the murders, is being able to convince your brain, I haven't done anything wrong.
Sure.
In fact, I can be proud of this. That's
absolutely.
Yeah. Heebie-jeebies, huh?
Yeah, those are always the scariest bad guys, are the ones that are like that in the movies. So yeah, in real life, it's doubly heebie-jeebie.
So yeah,
Thanks,
so
Will.
I get to leave y'all on.
Thank you.
On that.
I just called you Will, but
That's all right.
That's all right.
That's all right. I mean, we Will and I look very similar,
Yeah.
so
I heard you share a brain every once in a while, so it's okay.
we do.
okay.
It happens quite a bit.
No, you look like Geoffrey. He looks like a brownie fudge sundae with caramel. Extra nuts. No.
You're an idiot. So, Trey, once again, thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me. This has been a very entertaining day. This is great. I love it.
Yeah, I'm glad. I had a lot of fun today. As much as my anxiety was telling me it wasn't going to be, I got to get through this.
This is good. We got some some gold today.
Yeah.
I
We
think
got some
so.
gold.
I think it was some really, really good stuff.
And we've opened the door for other guestery as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have some technology to try out because we have people who probably need to do it through a Zoom.
Right
so we've still got to test that out. But at least we've got 3 mics that we can
do a lot
work with now,
read.
and a lot of good stuff came out of this weekend of recording. So, anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Again, I'd like to thank Trey as well for coming up and doing this with us.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having
sir.
us.
We could do it again
A lot of
sometime.
fun.
Yeah.
We could do it because I'm sitting here and my brain's going, well, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this other one, and we could do 5 others over there, and
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
because I can expound on Columbo like I can expound on MASH. So
Wow. Columbo.
and there's a brand new Columbo behind the scenes book for the 50th anniversary. So
Oh wow!
Is there really?
the premiere episode directed by the first series episode of Columbo, not Prescription Murder, which was a one-off movie, but the first episode of Columbo is directed by Steven Spielberg. It's called Murdered by the Book, and 50 years ago this week.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so happy birthday, Columbo. But there's a Columbo behind the scenes is what it's called. Yeah.
Cool. All right. With that, you can find more information about this episode and others on our website, nerderymurdery.com. You can find our contact information there as well as our social media. Please do leave us comments, any feedback, anything you want to hear, anything you'd like to hear differently. We do listen to it all. Might not listen to it, might not do it all, but we're going to at least listen to it.
Oh, yeah.
You can find the link to our merchandise, so please go out there and show your fandom and get your own Nerdery and Murdery logo merchandise. You can find our Patreon, where if you want to support the show and help us keep going with this, we sincerely appreciate it.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. We thank all of our patrons that are out there now. So yeah, what a great week. Really fully enjoyed it. But with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
Wait, yeah. Okay, you were this time. Yay.
It was this time. Yeah, I just sat here.
That's all right. Go ahead and say yourself too.
Oh, well, I'm Trey, and I'm sort of the semi-nerd.
And I've been Geoffrey with your Nerdery.
Cue the music.